Hi, I'm Whitney Stevens.
And I'm Yoyo Blackfire.
And this is Unstable.
Intimacy. What is it? And how do you feel about it?
I don't know. I feel like you know nothing about it.
Okay, here's what I know about intimacy. I'm pretty sure there's like 4 kinds of intimacy, right? Like major categories. There's physical intimacy,
Okay.
emotional intimacy,
All right.
mental intimacy, and spiritual intimacy.
I like this.
So spiritual intimacy, I don't know. Mental intimacy, I feel like I have with like friends and colleagues sometimes, like when we connect, like I think we have a mental intimacy as part of our connection.
Of course.
And probably same with emotional. I think that's what like makes us sustainable friends is like I don't have emotional intimacy with most people.
And I'm way too emotional.
Right.
It balances out.
Right. Which I mean like kind of makes sense. I'm an Aries and you're a Cancer, so you're a water sign.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a fire sign. I have a little bit of Pisces in my mix, like my moon, which is supposed to be my emotions.
Okay.
But I typically avoid having emotions at all costs.
This is absolutely true. I have examples.
You have receipts.
Mini.
Oh, shit. Okay, well, the one thing I do know about is physical intimacy, as long as that's code for sex.
Code for sex? I think that's pretty much sex.
Okay, so here's how this works.
Okay, I'm ready.
Is that like what vibes are? Like when you meet someone, you see them from across the room, and you're like, okay, we got this. This is me seeing someone at a bar, okay?
Okay.
Hey, baby.
I think that's just called a hookup.
Okay, so what is the difference between that and actual intimacy?
I don't think there's anything emotional involved in a hookup.
So
I guess
it's
if
physical
you're
intimacy.
solely physical.
Solely physical.
Yes.
Okay. And then when people catch feels, it's like more of that emotional. And then when you start to get to know each other, it becomes mental. And then as you work and develop that relationship consciously, it becomes spiritual.
Yeah, like I don't think I can speak on the spiritual part of it. That's really not my thing either. But as someone who has recently learned that I'm probably demisexual, I
Right,
have
which means-
zero sexual feelings for anyone until I have an emotional connection with them.
Okay. So demisexual, so there has to be an emotional, intimate connection to be able to share the physical intimacy element.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm not that.
Oh, we know.
I'm not.
You are today. That'll be $5.99 a month. It was blue velvet, and it fit you bad.
So would you say that you've always been like demisexual? Like have you always been, I guess let me try that again. Have you always found yourself to be like emotionally driven? Has that always been your thing?
Looking back, I feel absolutely, but I don't think for a long time there was a term for it. So I didn't realize this was actually an experience for other people. So recently when I learned about the term, I immediately identified with the fact that maybe that is always what my sexual experience has been. I think I found a lot of times I was doing sexual acts because I felt I needed to, because
Like,
that's
just
what everyone
people
else
do.
does.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of liberating to learn that like there's a whole group of people that don't have a desire to have sex without an emotional connection.
Yeah, I was first introduced to like the idea of demisexuality. I mean, like, there's a little bit of an age gap between us, so like you.
Oh yeah, slight age gap. It's my 37th birthday, so.
Right, and
yeah.
I just turned 25.
Right.
So there's a little bit of a difference. So like when we were like developing this new terminology, like the idea of being non-binary, demisexual, more conversations about things like polyamory and stuff, I was like in finishing just out of high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my partner for a long time identified as demisexual, which is probably why we're not still together.
Yeah. You probably weren't providing all those emotions, if I had to guess.
Okay, I would like to think I provided some
No.
in that. Okay, probably not. But so I mean, I'm like familiar with that idea,
Mm-hmm.
and like I'd like to think that at some point in my life I will find myself in a place that I am more maybe healed or open or whatever, however we want to look at it. That I bond with people more emotionally and stuff like that a lot easier and maybe more powerfully. But I just think like monogamy's not for me, and I
Right.
think societally speaking, we are programmed to feel like that is a necessary part of intimacy.
Mhm.
And I don't necessarily disagree, but I think there's so much more than that.
Absolutely. So like I actually just saw like a TikTok video. I don't have TikTok 'cause I'm old as hell.
I don't understand.
It's just a lot of videos.
Cut to us on TikTok.
Repeat themselves. I don't get it. But anyways, it actually explained demisexuality very like in a way that I was like, okay, like that makes sense even to me as someone who's learning that they may be that type of person. And it's that it was basically stating that just because you need an emotional connection or that you have like that standard for yourself before sex doesn't mean you're demisexual. It's more based on the fact that you're asexual until you have an emotional connection, and then you have your demisexuality aspect play into it.
So I really like that because quite literally in that definition, it describes sexuality as a spectrum, which is
Right.
how I identify. I identify as fluid in both my gender and my sexuality because I like to think that I should be able to have the opportunities that existed for our kind before all of this like domestication and labels and like things, because I mean humans are nomadic creatures, right? So we wander this rock and we're also pattern seekers. So seekers, bleh, mush mouth. But but so like over time we came up with like, okay, man, woman, race, right? Like black,
Right.
white, gay, straight, all those things are just like the result of the time that we've spent on this planet, and I'd like to give myself the opportunity to experience my journey here on this planet without all of those like restrictions, especially because I feel like they're so often used against people instead of like as just descriptors or a way to find how you want to describe maybe where you are in a moment or how you're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So like sometimes I feel like there could be a moment where I do feel like emotionally or like mentally or spiritually connected to someone, and there maybe isn't a physical element. I don't think I've experienced that yet.
But you're 100% able to have physical connection without emotions involved at all.
Oh, 100%. I mean,
Yeah,
Willem said emotions are for ugly people, and
Well, that makes me ugly.
it's okay.
Thank you, Willem. No, but it's always interesting because that's never been my experience. Like, I've always been too emotional, to a fault, many times.
I mean, I don't know if it's to a fault, but I think that when other people aren't that same way, it then like creates a situation where you maybe, I mean, I can't speak for you, but maybe you feel like you're giving.
You probably
more,
can. You know me better than anyone else.
Well,
so.
that is why we're here. But I could imagine that like when you're an emotionally driven person, you start to feel like maybe you're giving more than you're getting, and even if that is how you express yourself, and it's like some people are just more givers, and some people need more, and I mean different connections. Like it sounds cliche, but they say a reason, a season, or a lifetime, right? And to some degree, I do believe in those labels and those ideas that are noticed. I don't know, I imagine that it gets draining dealing with people so much when you're emotionally driven. Whereas like I'm living proof in that really old saying. Now we just talked about I don't believe in gender, but God, we'll talk about that later, gave man, in quotation marks, a brain and a penis and only enough blood to go to one. And
Right. And you've been the testament to that fact for
I am the
25
third
years.
testicle of the great
Third
Bibliosaurus Rex.
Oh my God.
I
So
believe it.
speaking on that, because you know that you have the capability of not involving emotion into sex, are you conscious of the partners that you end up with and making sure that they're on the same page?
I try to be very, very direct. I'm like, whether it's in terms of like what we like, what we're trying to accomplish, like, I don't know. I'd like to think that I'm pretty direct about it. I will look someone in the face and be like, I'm not the one. But I also obviously end up in situations, and when you're a sex icon and a body positive role model.
I don't think anyone said that, but
Well, I just did. And
you added it into the credits now. Perfect.
I'm telling Jim to write it in.
Oh my God, Jim.
Yeah.
Next
Everybody
cue card.
say hi to Jim. He's our cue card guy. We told him it's a holiday, so he only gets paid half for this.
Well, yeah, of course.
I think that the most important thing, though, like, comes down to just being sensitive of other people, like, who may have more or less of an emotional bond to what's going on than you. And, I mean, that's kind of why we're here, isn't it? Because we're so different. And, I mean, I believe that the purpose in life is to learn and grow and expand myself, so why not, you know, ask these questions and get different perspectives and be able to be more compassionate, understanding, and maybe, like, a greater version of myself.
I agree. I think it's like super important to like understand that not everyone either functions or operates exactly like you do, and to take that into consideration. I've obviously, like everyone, have been on the end where you're the one that's fucking heartbroken because someone doesn't operate the same way you do. So
I mean, I've been heartbroken. I think that and like it probably comes down to experience too, right? I mean, like, we grow up in a society where obviously this is like a big part of my beliefs because I keep bringing it up, but like we are brought up in a society that is so structured in terms of ideas, but then like when we're thrown out into the world, it's really not set up that way, and then we're kind of thrown to the wolves, and by the time we're in that point in our lives, which is maybe like our let's call it generically our 20s. I don't want to like specifically say that like there's a certain time where you're supposed to feel something, because I don't believe in that, but like by the time you're out there, you already probably have, at least personally speaking, like so much trauma or like things that you have to then like heal from and understand from your own experiences, that like, I mean, that's why life is just always like a work in progress, right?
You know, absolutely. I like, especially with intimacy, it's like you don't really get a handbook on how to handle it or know what you're doing. And I think it's even more exemplified as when you're gay, because you honestly don't have any role models for the most part of how to navigate being gay and having your intimacy and sexual experiences at all.
Yeah, I definitely imagine that when you're like a
100 years old is what you were gonna say.
Well, back in your back in my day when they were inventing the hanky code.
Right. We actually use that, so don't.
I love
really
that.
pissed that you brought that up.
I'm really pissed off right now. No, but I think that, I mean, I'm sure like it also stems into like how we're brought up. So like our relationships with our families, our relationship with our parents. Like, it's not just romantic, obviously. Like I said, I experience, I would say, mental, for sure, intimacy with people that I work with. And that's what, like, when I feel that bond, which is, I imagine, is relatively the same to what, like, you feel when you're emotionally connected to someone in some way, but, like, maybe, like, a different chakra. That, like, that's how I know, oh, I want to work with you, or, oh, I want to, because like being creative is intimate to me, like that's how I want to connect with someone.
My problem is I'm just way too instantly emotionally involved with people.
Yeah, you're like
like a hot mess. Is that what you're gonna go with?
I mean,
yeah, we can lean that way.
I need a shot.
Yeah, this is a good time.
Have you ever saw Reverse Cowgirl on a toilet?
With a bottle of Svedka in the back of it?
Well, I don't believe in water, so I actually fill my toilet with vodka.
And we never flush. Good girl.
Well, nothing tastes better than the second time around.
All right, well, we're going to talk about how I invest way too early.
Doesn't that, I mean, but is that not also the same concept as, like, different people are different, like, I mean, like, literally the two of us right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're sitting slightly different apart. We're facing slightly
Well, you're
different
on a
angle.
toilet.
Right. I'm in my natural habitat. I actually went pee right before we got changed.
And ate a sandwich off the back, yeah.
Well, sure. If I don't eat a sandwich, how do I know it's clean enough to do other things?
It wasn't. That's the problem.
But, no, I did. I actually peed reverse cowgirl in the bathroom out there.
That's hot.
Just for good luck.
Gosh.
For good measure. But I think that it's the same idea that, like, we're sitting here in this moment and we're in relatively the same exact moment, except that we are completely different physical beings. Like, how, not to mention, like, mental, spiritual, emotional.
Age.
Physical. For example, I take up this much of the screen, and you're over here taking up this much of the screen.
I'm sitting 5 feet further back so that we can look sort of
right, like in our
equal.
promo photo, how Scotty
like placed me 9 feet back.
Yeah, we actually put. Shout out to Scotty Kirby. He is
he
our
had to-
visual director. Here's our cameraman.
He had to stand across the street on Central.
We had to ship him. That song, NASA by Ariana Grande, we sent him to the motherfucking Mars to take that
Just so they could
photo.
get me into the
Just so we could
shot.
get the frame.
Yeah. Imagine what he has to do right now on video.
He is like monkey bars in up there trying to make sure that this works.
Yeah, it doesn't.
But I mean, like, even though it's so similar, we are different. And, like, even so much as, like, our eyes, our smells, like, the physicality, like...
I wasn't going to bring up your smell, but now that you brought it up.
If we're going to bring up my smell, then we're going to bring up the sound.
No, it's very true. It's like, there actually is like a term for it about when you start recognizing that other humans are experiencing a completely different thing.
Reality, like the same moment.
In the same moment.
Is different. Like, Scotty is looking at both of us fat pigs right now.
Yeah, he's literally trying not to puke.
He's actually trying not to laugh at us right now. Oh, God.
Yeah, like I can't imagine what his experience is right now. I know what ours is 2 fat pigs on a stage.
Yeah. I feel like we're rotisserie right now under the lights.
Of course.
It's true. But, like, that, even just that concept, like, that is probably why you feel like you attach to people so much, because you are emotionally driven. I am maybe more mentally driven. That doesn't sound right.
Physically.
Right. I forgot about that.
Physically driven.
So...
Because I've seen you be with some people that had nothing mentally going on at all.
But I also feel like I've been with people who have nothing physically going on, so what does that say?
I don't actually know. I don't know if we have enough time to figure this out. It'll be $100 an hour if I do come to that conclusion.
Oh, if any of you feel like you have an explanation for why I'm a whore,
The
I'll
way
let
you
know.
are.
Yeah.
Just the
I
way you
already
are,
know.
yeah.
Okay, I grew up Jewish. I've always been a lady boy. Is that okay? We'll edit that out. That's my first X marks the spot of this
Right.
season.
I have seen you
no,
as a little Jewish boy with your curly hair,
Right, I'm
being gay as hell.
I identify as a faggy little Jew boy. Even though I don't believe in gender and I consider myself non-binary and very fluid, I'm obviously extremely masculine.
So now we're doing stand-up.
The one time I tried stand-up.
Oh my god, okay, this does not play.
The first time I did stand-up, though, that one time I tried it, I would describe that as an intimate experience. I'm not even, like, low-key about it. I, like, worked really hard. I think that was, like, kind of the problem. I think that when it comes to comedy, I need to be a little...
Not your thing? Yeah, it was really intimate. It was you in a pantsuit.
It was me in a pantsuit.
In front of,
with
like,
a lot of highlight on.
50 people.
In front of 53 and a half people.
I was the half, right, because I'm small.
No, you were the 1.5. That's why I rounded up.
Oh, okay, got it.
But I think that I thought too much about it, and I wasn't, like, just...
Funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
No, but it's true. It's true. Like, you need to be more, like, funny.
Yeah.
Well, I do.
Well, for lack of a better word, funny, yeah.
But, like, just because, like, I felt vulnerable or, like, it was intimate doesn't mean that even though I bombed,
She didn't bomb.
it was pretty okay.
No.
Those moments where I do feel like emotionally and intimate about something, like those are those times that I feel like it's maybe like a call to action. Like it's super easy for me to sink into a moment when I do feel emotional because it doesn't happen a lot. So typically it's like extremes, but like those intimate moments mean a lot to me. Like whether it's I can learn and grow and maybe figure out how to be funny.
It was more your timing, but I mean, we'll get into that later.
Oh, so now I have to change my whole belief system just to be funny.
Is that what was holding you back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm Jewish.
The Jew jokes were great.
I know, but people don't think it's funny to be Jewish. They hate Jews. Okay.
I don't think you can say that.
Yes, no, it's a real thing. And you know what? People have always hated Jews. Okay.
I don't know what reference you could possibly
No,
have.
I mean, if I had to just think of one off the top of my head, I would think of me. People always hate me.
I thought you were going to go with an easy bake oven, but...
Oh, sure, like how I like to tan.
Stop.
If you appreciate the color of our skin, you can give credit to our retirement account. Because we are banking up. But the moral of the story is this. I like to tan, and I know that the sun can be dangerous and harmful, and as a very physically intimate person, it's important that I take care of the vessel that torments people's bodies.
And
so I go out there every day.
Okay.
I get sun. I get about like
and
45 minutes.
How do you judge when you need to go inside?
I always know when it's time to go inside because as soon as it smells like Auschwitz, I gotta take a turn for the best.
God, I really hate and love
and that was
joke.
what my stand-up was like.
Yeah, that's probably why it bombed.
Bombed. You know that it was more like a fart in a bathtub because there was a stinky gas bomb I set up. I'm just saying, were bombs like about? Yeah, they probably were. But the moral of the story is just because like I feel something doesn't mean it's a bad thing. And just because that's not necessarily the element that I am most natural with doesn't mean that I can't grow from like the people around me and the experiences that I have. And
I will say you're always the one to understand somebody else and know when you're not connection to that feeling, you're the first one to apologize about it and like realize that it's like, hey, I don't operate that way, but I understand you do, and it's important that I recognize that I did something shitty.
Yes, thank you. I mean, I appreciate that because like I said, I think that that's the whole point of life. And like, if you're gonna like have a friend or have someone in your life, like I'm gonna do something wrong. We all are. We're human. We make mistakes.
Well, you've done 5 things today, but we're not gonna get
right. My nails, my hair, my hips, my heels
showing up.
Right.
Right.
Well, I also messed up the mic thing, but we won't talk.
We're not gonna get into that. We're just gonna use my boot mic and go from there.
Yes. Give credit to your beastie. I'm just kidding. That's more like an iguana bite. But I like to think that like part of like learning and growing together is taking accountability and holding each other accountable. And a lot of the times those are uncomfortable conversations, but I wouldn't make myself uncomfortable with this conversation if I didn't care and you didn't matter to me. That's why I appreciate you, and I think that's why our friendship is so strong. And I know that's why we're sitting here today, because we are able to.
Well, I thought we were sitting here because you drove me here, but.
Right, I thought we were here because we made a bet and we both lost.
Yeah. No, but for sure, like, there's a lot of people that don't understand us being friends because we're so incredibly different.
And I'm so likable.
I don't think that's what they said, but one thing we do have is tied into intimacy is like we can have a friendship that does involve some intimacy, but based on how we process it.
Yeah, like, and like that, I think it's that communication, right? Communication is the key to probably all the forms of intimacy, right? I mean, like for me, when I'm gonna have a sexual encounter with someone, I communicate. I don't like my nipples touched, and I don't bottom, so you can lick it and maybe stick a finger in it, but that's all.
Oh,
and I think that when I communicate that, and I don't take things that I don't choose to take, aside from the dick, like drugs, right?
Oh.
But like,
this has gotten wild.
Phoenix's wildest show, honey. Self-proclaimed. But, you know, like when I'm physical, I try to be communicative because that's how you get the best experience out of something. And that's how we tolerate each other.
Right. I think it's important to know that intimacy isn't just only in your sexual encounters, but also within your friendship, within your family, everything
work
that you
relationships,
do. Like any relationship you build has a certain amount of intimacy involved.
Yeah.
Or else you don't have any sort of foundation, or else.
So like intimacy, I guess it's connection, right? Like.
Right.
Whether it's mental, spiritual, physical, emotional.
Beyond an acquaintance, I think anything beyond acquaintance requires some form of intimacy and understanding of another individual.
I totally would agree with that. I mean, even in a day-to-day sense, like once you take the time to like talk to someone, like there's some form of intimacy, even if it's just that you're physically together in a moment and like engaging. Which means that we're now intimate with all of you. Which is kind of exciting because I'm physical and you're emotional. Which
right,
means
so that means I have to get emotionally involved with 2,386 people now.
And I have to get physical with 2,892.
Well, you've already done that.
Okay, so let's just make sure that I'm understanding this, because I'm probably not.
Well, most likely.
So intimacy is how we experience something and how we communicate and interact our experiences with the people around us.
Yes. I think like the big thing that I think is important is that everyone's experience with intimacy is different. And when you go into a scenario where you're having intimacy with another individual, that you are aware that they may experience it in a different way than you, and that you have communication and awareness that how you experience it may not be the way they do. I am Whitney Stevens, and this has been my co-hostess with the mostest, Yoyo Blackfire. We just want to say thank you for joining us for episode 1. We've got more to come, and we would love to give you a little bit of the backstory as to why we are doing this.
Yeah, this podcast is going to be an intimate experience like we talked about today. For me, for hopefully Whitney, and certainly for you guys as you get a glimpse into our lives, our opinions, our thoughts, our experiences, and as we all expand our perspectives and our understandings of each other and topics. And you can catch us every single Tuesday on all streaming platforms and catch the full video podcast available now on Patreon. My name's Yoyo Blackfire.
And I'm Whitney Stevens, and this is Unstable.